Hi, I'm Fritz with Argo Adventure, and we are going to do an overview on the Frontier 6x6 650. And I just want to point out that if you had by any chance watched our 600 video, these two vehicles are very, very similar. So the main difference is probably going to be the horsepower. And we are going to do a walk around on everything on this vehicle just in case. Okay, so we will basically start off with the dimensions of this little buggy. We have got right at 5 foot for our width. It's just under 5 foot from bumper to bumper. Our total length from bumper to bumper is going to be right at 8 feet. Our total weight of this vehicle, it comes in, by the time you get gas and different stuff in there, you're going to come in at about 1,000 pounds, just exactly like the 600. It's going to be very, very similar. With that being said, we will work our way starting around on the lower half of the vehicle. The vehicles are molded from high density polyethylene. Your body's going to be about 1/4 inch thick. And as you will see in the video here, just like the 600, we have a full length skid plate, which is basically the polyethylene also. This runs the full length of the body and about close to 8 inches up on the side. And if you're dealing with rugged type terrain, this is really good. It'll help protect your lower body. As we move around to the side, we have got the Frontier tires, which are a 24-inch tall by 10-inch wide tire that is on an 8-inch steel offset rim. And this is a good time to point out our land speed is going to be 18 to 22 mile an hour, depending on which transmission is in the vehicle. And I should say that differently, which gear ratio. This has the classic transmission. And water, because of the linear tread, you are going to propel up to about 3 mile an hour on water with the tires. The steel offset rim, this is standard on all of the new Frontiers. And what that's going to allow you to do for those of you that are running tracks, and you can call and ask questions on this, but we can flip the wheel from side to side on the vehicle. There is actually 2 valve stems, so you can still check your tire pressure, but it moves your wheels out, or your wheels and tires out a couple inches, and it allows the adequate clearance required to run the 18-inch tracks. Short of that, we will work our way around the side here to the back of the vehicle. On the back of the vehicle here, I guess kind of the same stuff a little bit in the front. We've got our skid plate again that goes full length. We have a 2-inch standard receiver. This will be like the same receiver that goes in a vehicle, and it'll have the little bit smaller pin. I point this out because the older Argos would not work with a 2-inch receiver. The pin was a little different. We have 2 drain plugs. I have this one out so you can see how they are. They're like a boat screw-in drain plug. There's one on this side, one on this side, and these would come into play if you're washing the inside of the vehicle out, or for some reason it sits out in the rain, who knows, whatever, and you get a bunch of water stuff in there. You can put the front tires, put it like on an elevated angle on a ditch, and open the drain plugs, and it'll drain about 99% of your water out of the vehicle. One other thing I need to point out on the Frontier 650 is the front and rear, or I should say corner axles, they do not have the bearing extension housings that some of the other models have. And this really only comes into play if you were that guy that was wanting to plow snow. You do need the bearing extension housings, and you cannot put a snowplow on the Frontier 650. Short of the lower body, I think that pretty much covers everything we've got there. Okay, so now we will get into the guts of this vehicle. So we have our 2 little straps that you can unlatch, open your hood. Basically, once your hood is open, you have access to the engine compartment, and I'll just do kind of a general overview here. So we've got the 23 horse Vanguard engine. It's a little 2-cylinder, actually a 2-barrel carburetor on this one. Our battery location is up here. It's a 12-volt battery. Our fuse box, transmission is sitting down here. And then we have a CVT clutch, again, continuous variable speed clutch for engine to transmission for your power. Engine oil dipstick is up front here, and your tranny dipstick to check your engine or your transmission oil is back here. One last thing I will point out, this is a canister for California emissions. Again, on the Frontier models, they can be, what am I trying to say? You can have those engines certified for California emissions, and in California you have to have this little canister in order to legally run the vehicle. All of our Frontiers we order in have that in there, so we've got you covered if you're from California. So now we will cover basically the interior compartment of the Frontier 650. We will start off, I want to point out when I'm pointing at floor pans and stuff, I did take the bolts out of this vehicle because we're going to pull the pans out here in a second. But I'm going to start off with the APS, which is Argo's progressive steering. So again, Hayes Brakes is who designed this for Argo. And basically, for those of you that are not familiar with an Argo, to steer it, if you're driving it, it brakes one side or the other. This is all the farther the handlebars go. When you put pressure on it with the Argo progressive steering, there's like a spring tension that pulls you back, and it just makes it feel a lot more smooth and effortless, and you don't get the feeling like it's a skid steer type steering. So that's what you got going on with the steering. You have on the dash here, we've got your regular ignition, and they went to a four-wheeler or typical ATV type starting system. You turn the key on, pull the brake, which is on the left-hand side, and you push the little green button, the start button, and that will start the vehicle up. Being a carbureted engine, you do have a choke with the 23 horse carbureted, so if it's cold, you may have to pull the choke on this vehicle. Otherwise, on the dash here, we've got a little 12-volt outlet. We've got our little LED gauge that also has your it gives you your RPMs, your speed, and also your charging. The 650 comes standard with a bilge pump on it. This is a bilge pump switch to manually turn that on and off. If I go over to the dash here, we have got a park brake. Basically, if you're on a side hill or trailering or basically getting out of the vehicle, you want to engage the park brake. Lastly, I want to point out is our throttle. We have a finger throttle instead of the twist grip like the older vehicles, and when you elevate the throttle, you just give it the gas with your fingers, and this has been a really pleasant thing to have. If I go down about knee height, we've got our shift lever for our transmission, and again, I have this boot out because of the video, but if you look at the dash, we've got low range, high range, neutral's in the middle, it goes up and down, and then reverse is up and over. And speed-wise, and I think I covered this, but low range and reverse are going to hit that 12 to 15 mile an hour, and high may hit up to 18 to 22. And again, it kind of depends on the gear ratio and the transmission. Floor pans, they went to a flat floor pan in the front on all of the Frontiers, which is actually really nice when you're climbing in and out of the vehicle because it's just a nice flat solid surface, and they do have the non-skid little stickers that they adhere there. Coming up to the seat does hinge up, and you've got a fair amount of storage underneath the seat for hauling a few spare parts, maybe some tools or a small cooler, something to that effect. And this is about 6 inches deep, and this is where the battery used to be. That's quite a bit deeper, so you do have a fair amount of storage room under the seat. As I go to the back of the vehicle, we do have a gas tank that's about a 7-gallon gas tank, and they do very, very well on gas. You've got your rear floor pan and then a couple of small seats. Now at this point, I'm going to climb in the back of the vehicle just to give you an idea from a room perspective. Now I'm about just under 5'11". If I get in the vehicle and I sit down, you can see it's fairly tight here, but at the same time, I've got quite a bit of room. Now, a couple guys my height could get in the vehicle with no problem, but you're going to be banging knees. Typically, it works really good with 2 adults in the front, and in the back, you can handle a couple adults, but kids fit a lot better in the 6-wheel. And keep in mind, if you were going to go in the water, you would not want to have people in the back of the vehicle because they're not designed to float 4 people. Not in the 6-wheeler anyway. So let me get to the front. And again, we will climb in. Now, one thing that's nice on the 650 that the 600 does not have, they have these grab handles. And if you're a passenger, this is really nice. If you were going and you're riding with somebody that decides they're going to spin some cookies or something, you got something to hang on to. As far as the front goes, again, I'm 5'11". For those of you that are tall, notice my knee distance here, because we have people all the time, they say, well, I can see how you could get in there, but I'd never fit in there. And actually, you'd be surprised. Somebody that's 6'3", 6'4", their legs are up to here, and they're to right here, but they still have room to get in and get out. So there's quite a bit of room on the inside of them. From a serviceability standpoint, this is some of the stuff that you can't get on a brochure. Our hood opens up. If you take your hand, you can just lightly tap it. The hood comes off the vehicle. Forgot to move my table closer, so firewall, it would take 2 wrenches. Let me grab them. Basically, a 1/2-inch socket and a 3/16 Allen head. And I'll point these out. I don't know if I did this in the other videos, but you've got 5 1/2-inch bolts that hold the firewall in place, and then you will have 4. You're gonna have to have a magnet handy. You're gonna have 4 of the little Allen-headed bolts that hold the flat 4 pan in place. So I'm just gonna set this in here. I took these out previously so you can see how everything accesses. So that's the firewall. Here's your front floor pan. That'll just lift up out of there. And this is aluminum. And then I'm gonna go to the rear floor pan. Now this is still a molded floor pan, the plastic molded. There's finger holes in both corners. If you lift up with your fingers, there's a couple little slots that catch on the side. You just lightly tap it with your fist as you pull up on the floor pan, and it'll come right out of there. Once you have that out, where this would be handy is once you get to the point that you need to lubricate your chains or grease or whatever the case is, you have easy access to the rear drivetrain. And when you come to the front, you'll notice you have access to your idler chains, all your chain drive, your transmission, all that. And from the hood compartment, this completely opens up, and actually this shield on all models will pull up out of there too, which will open this up even more. So this has been a quick overview of the 2021 6x6 Frontier 650. Keep in mind this is a base machine. You can add a ton of accessories, winch, brush guard, windshield. They've got tracks, all kinds of stuff that you can do with these vehicles. With that being said, if you have any questions, just please give us a call.